Alright guys, today's gonna be a fun blast from the past. I've been talking about some horror documentaries lately, and one of my favorite ones was Nightmares in Red, White, and Blue. Well, today we're gonna talk about Boogeymen, the killer compilation. Now, I've got a story to tell about this DVD. This review is actually not going to go the exact way I thought it was going to go. But don't think of this as a review. Let's think of this as a retrospective and a revisiting of what this DVD has to offer. Alright, so it's 2009. I've just gotten bit by the horror bug in a big way. I've told this story 1,000 times, but if you don't know, I took a trip to Spirit Halloween with my brother, and I just fell in love with all the characters that I saw. Freddy, Michael, Jason. I had seen clips of the movies before as a kid, but I had never dove deep into the series. So naturally, I started wanting to own the movies on DVD and things like that. Probably about 4 or 5 months down the road, I'd seen a number of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, Friday the 13th, Halloweens, Texas Chainsaws, you name it. One day I'm going to FYE to pick up some horror movies. Of course, I start going through the shelves, and I happen to come across a DVD called Boogeymen. Now, when you stop and see this artwork, you gotta say to yourself, holy crap, that looks cool. Boogeymen. What is this? Some kind of horror documentary? The killer compilation. The scariest boogeymen to ever appear on film together for the first time in the ultimate horror experience. Jason, Michael, Freddy, Chucky, Leatherface, Pinhead, and more. When I saw this on the shelf, my jaw hit the floor. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something really cool. Especially that they threw Blade on there on the side. I grew up being a big Puppet Master fan, so that was really cool. I don't even remember looking at the back, I was so excited. Probably a silly thing for me to do. If you look at the back, you'll start to notice something very important. Let's look at the back of this DVD together. Okay guys, so when you look at the back, you're gonna notice it says something. Boogeymen, the killer compilation of scenes from. Right away, that's going to tell you one thing. This is not any sort of documentary. This is in fact just movie clips put together. But before we freak out, let's look at the roster that we have on Boogeymen. I'm sure it's going to be really cool, right? Okay, so in order, we have Pinhead from Clive Barker's Hellraiser, Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ghostface, Scream. We've got Chucky from Child's Play 2, Candyman from Candyman, Leprechaun from Leprechaun, Simon from The Ugly. So let's stop for a second. I did not remember that was a curveball thrown in here. I hadn't seen The Ugly at that point, so the fact that they threw this on here at the time, I don't even remember if I had seen that part of the documentary when I first bought this. I'm sure I did, but remembering that Simon was on here, I quite frankly didn't. So what a curveball to throw in the Boogeymen compilation like this. Okay guys, then we have Wishmaster, Camilla the Guardian. Again, I hadn't seen The Guardian. As a matter of fact, I never saw The Guardian until years later. So what a curveball again for that to be in Boogeymen. Now, I'm 99% sure I watched this thing the whole way through when I first got it. As a matter of fact, I probably watched it a couple of times. But I have no memory of The Guardian and The Ugly being on this killer compilation. Then we go to The Fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Dentist, The Tall Man from Phantasm, Blade from Puppet Master, Norman Bates from Psycho, Jason Voorhees from Jason Goes to Hell The Final Friday, and Michael Myers from Halloween. So when I get this DVD home, I put it in, and the first thing you're gonna see, it's very retro. I think it's been described online as like a baseball card style title cards. So before each clip, you see this little fiery background and a border go around with the picture of the character. In essence, the first thing you'll see is Pinhead, and there's a little factoid about him. Guardian of souls, leader of the priests, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the scene plays. There's no dialogue between anything, there's no narration. It's a little title card that looks like a vintage baseball card with the character, and then the next scene plays. Basically what Boogeymen, the Ultimate Killer compilation is. I don't remember being totally upset at the time, but I do remember naively thinking I was about to see some really cool documentary going over the history of all of horror's most iconic characters. Quite frankly, that's not what this is. Interestingly enough, this was released on VHS as well, but here's what's the most interesting thing about this documentary. So I just went on Instagram and posted I was going to do a video about this, and I was looking at the comments, and people have good memories of this thing. Here I am thinking I was going to rag on this thing and everybody was going to be in agreement, but the comments section on Instagram, people are saying, I loved that thing. I remember getting that, and I remember learning so much, and it was a great introduction. And then it clicked for me. I think Boogeymen, the Killer Compilation, is in fact a great introduction for somebody that's just getting into the horror genre. Watching this back now is a little tedious because I'd much rather just watch the movies in much higher definition that we have now than just watching 4:3 scenes from movies in 480p. I mean, it's 2024, so naturally I'd like to see everything in high def. It is almost a little jarring seeing The Guardian and The Ugly in here. Don't get me wrong, I like those movies, but talk about curveballs. I wonder who was in charge of curating the titles. Obviously, there are certain things you have to put in here, most notably Leatherface, Freddy, and Michael and Jason. To have The Ugly in here, it was just like, wow, I can't believe that. Boogeyman is not something that I could just normally decide to watch because, like I said, it's simply a compilation of a bunch of movie clips put together. But it was interesting looking at the comments on Instagram about how many people have fond memories of Boogeymen. Granted, this thing is 23 years old. This thing came out in 2001, so to rag on it hard would be a little unfair considering this thing came out when I was basically 10 or 11 years old. But owning this on DVD as opposed to just trying to watch this on YouTube would be a much different experience because they do have some stuff in here. Interestingly enough, and it is actually kind of a fun listen, you can listen to the entirety of Boogeymen the Killer Compilation with none other than Robert Englund doing a commentary over everything. And Robert goes into all kinds of fun tidbits and facts. The guy has a knowledge about all kinds of stuff. And I gotta be honest, if you are gonna revisit this for any reason, if this video gives you a sense of nostalgia and you're like, you know what, screw it, I wanna pop that on, check it out with Robert Englund. That alone is kind of worth the price of getting this on DVD so you can hear him talk about all the movie clips and things like that. But here's where things get a little bit interesting, and the way they word this is not necessarily a lie, but a little bit of a stretch. Now, if you look on the back of this thing right here, it says over 3 hours of entertainment, but the entirety of the clip compilations comes in right under an hour. So how do they come up with over 3 hours of entertainment? Let's look at the back and see what kind of special features they have. Okay, guys, up here at the top, special features have Legends of the Boogeyman, character bios, and histories. Let's go to the menu screen and see what that is. Alright, guys, so we go to the special features. Here we are at Legends of the Boogeymen. Let's click that and see what it shows. So you get a picture of the characters and some texts, just kind of telling you about the characters, and it looks like they have this for a number of them. Here's Freddy. Pause that if you guys want to read it. I guess if you're new into this is kind of cool. Wishmaster. See, these menu screens are so vintage. That's what's so cool about it. Damn, how much stuff could they write about Wishmaster? Let's look at Jason. There we go. 1946 he was born. Damn, he's as old as Michael. Pretty cool. Again, pause this if you guys want to read it all. And there's Michael himself. So guys, this is Legends of the Boogeymen. What can you say? Next up, we have Flix Facts Animated Trivia, an audio commentary by Robert Englund, which again, if you're going to watch this years later, put the Robert Englund commentary on. It is way more fun than just watching the normal clip compilation. Name that frame with over 100 movie stills to test your knowledge. Okay, so I couldn't help myself. I thought maybe I could just read over some of the stuff and have you guys look at the back of the DVD case, but let's go take a look at that special feature and see if it's fun to play. Who knows, maybe it is. Alright guys, so you hit start and it's going to run through some clips. Name that frame. My gut instinct is to say that is from The Guardian. Let's see. Alright, we got it right. What do you say we do one more, guys? I guess this could be kind of fun. Who knows how many clips they have for each movie, too. Alright, let's see what we got. This reminds me of that scene in Wishmaster where he's crawling on the ground before he gets to full size. Let's see if it's Wishmaster. Hey, we got it right again. Not bad, guys. Don't pull my horror card from me now, I got him. Theatrical trailers and DVD-ROM with interactive horror trivia games. Okay, so the DVD-ROM with interactive horror trivia games had me really excited. But here's the downfall. It's PC only. And to make matters worse, the PCs that I do have in my house don't have disk drives anymore. I went to my wife's laptop that I got her last year to see if it had a disk drive, and no. So I can't put this thing in any computer. So if anybody's out there and you have a computer that has an old disk drive with Windows 95 or up, take this thing and put it in there and let me know what's on there, because apparently there are things on that that are not available anywhere else. So how was this over 3 hours? Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe you can play the Name That Frame game for an hour and a half to equate to 3 hours. It's a little bit of a stretch, clearly, the way they word that, but maybe the stuff with the DVD-ROM adds some length too to keep you busy, I don't know. This does give me a strong sense of nostalgia, because even though I got this almost 10 years after it came out, it was something I got in the early days of me diving into the horror genre on a really full-time basis. And I guess I did have fun putting it on at the time, because I hadn't owned all the movies that were on here yet. Puppet Master was a little difficult to come by considering Charlie was going in and out of the Paramount deal. I hadn't seen stuff like The Guardian. I hadn't seen The Dentist ever, so some of the clips in there were fun. But trying to go back years later and watch it, it's a little bit of a stretch. But luckily, there is a Robert Englund audio commentary on here that just makes it kind of fun. It's interesting how this seems to be in most people's horror collection and they never got rid of it. I wonder why that is, that we can't bring ourselves to get rid of things like this. I guess they do have an importance to us, and at a certain period of time, they did mean a lot to us. But hey, maybe if you've got a young kid who's starting to get into the horror genre, you could let them watch Boogeymen, The Killer Compilation. Either way, guys, I'd love to know your story with Boogeymen, The Killer Compilation, and what your thoughts on it are today. Is it something you'd ever think about popping on again? Maybe you want to go to the special features and play the Name That Frame game? Or maybe it's just something you can't bring yourself to ever get rid of in your collection. At a certain point in time, it was something that was important to you, and years later, you kind of get a chuckle at it when you see it. Were your hopes let down the way they were for mine? Me thinking I was about to watch this great documentary, and instead, it was literally just clips put together the way people do on YouTube now for free? I'm sure your reaction is somewhere near the one I had. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching this video. Let me know your story with Boogeymen, The Killer Compilation, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.